Hello and welcome to another edition of the Aravaipa Rides podcast. I have two of our racers today who have completed several of races in the past. We're going to be talking about our Insomniac night series coming up, at least the first half of it for sure. If we have time, maybe we'll talk others, but definitely talk about the first three races. So I'd like to welcome my two guests, Marion Cholieu and Robert Cogburn. Why don't we start with you, Marion? Tell us just a little bit about you. I know you're the second time visiting the podcast here, but for anyone who didn't see the first one, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. That does sound like deja vu for me to be in this podcast. Thank you for having me. So I've been in the Phoenix area for about 5 years now, and I started mountain biking when I was a little girl back in France. I'm born and raised in France. And I've been participating in many of the Aravaipa Rides, including not only including those series. Actually, I've done the one, the Frenzy Hills in December. That is really fun also. And just happy to be here and talking about racing bikes.
Excellent. Robert, how about yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
So moved here from Northern California in 2005 and lived in the Queen Creek area and got into mountain biking in 2014. So I'm not sure why I didn't do it all those other years.
Right.
But got into it in 2014 with the Santan Shredders there in Queen Creek. Got into racing about a year after that and just found I had a niche and I was good at it. And here we are today.
There you go. Well, on that, what got you into racing? What was that transition like from just riding into what snapped your fingers or whatever and made you want to race?
So I think it's, when you get into something and you think you're good at it, and then you realize you're not once you go to that first race. So the very first race I ever went to was the Fire on the Rim in Pine, Arizona. And we did a 30-mile race, which we thought we were ready for it, my buddy and I. And second lap, we stopped and shared a Pop-Tart. That's how bad we were doing. I think we finished in the 54th and 55th spot, which is like the very, very tail end.
Sure.
And from then, I just got a better bike. And then one thing that I've always said, you can't train for, you can train, but you can't. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. You can't train with the heart and determination, right? And I think for myself, I've always considered myself like the underdog. Mm-hmm. You roll up to that starting line, they kind of look over, it's like, I was a little short guy, he's got nothing. They say go, and that's how I got my nickname, the Red Rocket. I take off and I'm gone.
Yep.
So I think just after that race that went so bad, and then jumping into a couple smaller races like 15-mile laps, stuff like that, and then winning those.
Right.
And then you realize you have something here, and then I fell in love ever since, and been racing since it's like 2015.
Excellent. And yourself, Marion, how did you transition into racing? And I know, again, some of our listeners may have heard the try to mountain bikes before, but for those who didn't, a quick jump from a ride into the race.
For sure. So I don't think I ever transitioned. I think I went straight into racing, actually. I started when I was a kid, so I very quickly loved riding bikes, and I'm really competitive by nature. So I think it was just natural for me to just attend the races that my local club was at. And then when I moved here, I found a team that's called Exhale. We ride with Exhale Bike Shop, which is in North Phoenix. And I've found, a lot of riding buddies and friends around. So I just continued kind of doing the same thing and getting into races in Arizona, which is, the terrain is fairly different. So I had, a transition period.
Right.
I just love racing all around. So
excellent. Marion just plugged her team. Robert, might as well take the opportunity. Who do you ride for right now?
So right now, bike shop wise, I'm still affiliated with Santan Bikes in Santan, and then with Foundry Racing. Excellent. So that's like we were speaking before, we have kids anywhere from 7 to 8, all the way to to coaches that race. So sure. we're a team of about 100 student riders and about 40 coaches.
Excellent. Very nice. Yep. Seen you out at a lot of our races as well. And looking forward to seeing the kids come out all summer long to the night races. Robert, what was your first Aravaipa race? How did you do at it?
The 3 hour at Santan.
Okay.
Which I'm only 5 miles from there, so it is my home track. So
Gotcha.
I didn't have a choice but to race there.
Right.
And I did the 3 hour and took second. So I first took off and never saw him again.
And that was the inaugural.
It was, yes.
It was the very first
Yes.
in 2019.
It was, yes.
Excellent. Marion, how about you? Your first Aravaipa race?
I was trying to think, but I think that was my first race as well, the inaugural Santa Ana race, unless I'm forgetting, because I've done a lot of those.
Sure.
But yeah, I remember it fairly clearly because it was pretty technical, and then I could never get up top of that sandy hill on the bike, so it was a pretty good one.
Yep. Excellent. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about the Insomniac series, kind of what we're all here to get together with. For those of you guys listening at home and don't know, the Insomniac series is a series of night races that we have around the Phoenix Mountains, 6 of them to be exact. They start in April and go through September, so some of the warmest months of the year here in Phoenix, when it just makes sense to get out and ride at night versus during the day. What do you guys think of it, having experience doing day races and night races, ours and other people's? What's the difference between, what do you like about riding at night?
I think you are, for me at least, I'm less scared of, turns and like things that you can kind of see further during the day. So I'm committed if there's an obstacle or something that is technical. I just go for it because obviously you don't have that, longer, what is it called? You can see like further than your lights, obviously. So I think it makes it easy to just like commit and just go for it.
Excellent. Robert, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think to kind of piggyback off what Marion said, I think the same thing where you're more tunnel vision, right? You're looking 5-6 feet in front of you rather than looking 100 yards down the trail because you can't see it anyway.
Yeah.
And of course, just riding at night is fun. We've done many night rides anyway, and then just to race, sometimes I feel like I'm almost faster.
Okay.
Just because we have done so many group night rides.
Yeah.
And then the thing for me that I really enjoy about riding at night that just kind of motivates you that more is all you see is the lights. You don't know who that person is.
Okay.
So you know if it's a competitor.
Sure.
Say let's just say you pass a few people. And all of a sudden you see lights behind you. Is that them?
Right.
Is that your competitor coming behind you? So it just motivates you just to keep pushing throughout the whole race because you just don't know who's behind you, who's in front of you.
Yep. I think kind of piggybacking on yours too, I known from my own experience, just having that light behind me and not knowing is enough of a push. It's not the fact that they might be a competitor or not, but just that there's someone behind me and I can see that out of the corner of my eye. If I'm going around a corner, there's a little flash. Oh, he's closer, he's farther. Try to keep that distance the whole time. And in the daytime, actually, you lose them. They might be down in a wash, they might be behind a cactus, but the light gives them away at night. And so even if you can't see where you couldn't see them during a stretch of the trail at day, you can always check to see again, like, have you pulled away a little bit? Are they pulling closer?
Exactly.
For sure. And again, obviously, I kind of touched on it here in Phoenix. It makes sense to be out at night because it's the coolest part of the full 24-hour day. Once the sun comes up at 8 o'clock and, not at 8 o'clock, but when the sun comes up in the morning on, July, doesn't matter what time it is, it's hot. So it's like you got to have that comfort of darkness. Definitely gives a different experience. So we're introducing for 2022 a point series, point standing. I kind of sprung this on you guys about a few hours ago, actually, when we were communicating here. What do you guys think? Try something for, it'll be men and women. We'll kind of break it down a little bit here, but just overall first thoughts of having a series standing.
I think it's really cool because it makes it even more competitive. I think if you are racing the whole series, it gives you an idea of where you're at compared to other people that are also doing it.
Sure.
And it's for me, it's comparable to the NBA series where you have the championship at the end.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's a really good idea.
Cool.
Yeah, the thing I like about it too is let's just say that you were going to skip that one race just because I don't know, maybe you don't like riding there at night as much, or you just I don't know, maybe you had something else going on that particular night, and if you're in that points race, every race counts.
Yeah.
So it'll force you almost to, I have to do the whole series if that's your end goal is to win that championship or,
Sure.
that. So yeah, I enjoy the point system.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Our sister company has done that with the running series, the summer and the winter series that they have, and so I thought it was a good idea to try and transfer it over and up that competitiveness a little bit. We won't go through the whole nitty gritty on here, but the way we've got it set for at least this year as we try it out is you have to do at least 4 of the 6 races. And that does give you an opportunity to, if you have a bad race in DNF or something happens and you can't make it to a race, it's not going to put you out just because you missed the 1 or the 2. But you do have to commit to the majority of the series to be eligible. So it's definitely, I think, and it'll give you a little bit more because if you miss that 1 somewhere in the middle, okay, you've got to come back and hit a couple more first, second. You got to be in the top. You can't just be down at the towards the bottom. We'll be tracking the top 10, so it won't be just the podium finishers as well. But again, that gives you that opportunity to, like, if you have a bad race and slip and you come in 7th versus someone who's regularly coming in 1st or 2nd, kind of gives you that opportunity to jump right back in and still compete for the end series too. It's not just one race will end it all for you.
So let me ask you this then too. So like you brought the NBA up. So let's just say that you race the first race in the 6 hour and you win that. So you get your 100 points. And then next race, you're like, well, I'm going to do the 3 hour.
Doesn't transfer.
You have to stay. Okay,
Yeah.
that'll keep people in the same category and keep them from jumping around as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, I like that as well.
Yeah, I don't want a sprinter to go and do a bunch and then hit the 6 hour
there
and
you
slog go. And that. But I've got 3 first places in the 3 hour.
Perfect.
Nope. So because we do have the different hours and distance commitments, the 1 lap distance, it's all just 1 lap. So that one, the 3 hour and the 6 hour, and these will all be single riders, not relays. Because we do have the off 9 hour and the 12 hour on a couple races, those won't qualify because there's not 6, there's not even 4 of those particular races throughout the series. So because every race has a 6 hour, 3 hour, and a 1 lap, those will be the 3 that will count for that you can be eligible for. So yeah, a little bit of an extra push to get up on a second podium at the end of a hangover in September, right?
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait.
Keeps you accountable.
Yeah.
Keeps you accountable for sure. And as always, we'll have the Psycho Award and the Maniac Award for someone who just completes 3 or completes 6, but that's just completion. It's not podiums on that. So you just have to come out and do 3 of the races or do 2 of the 6, and you get a little special award for that as well. All right, well, first up is Sinister. I'm going to let Robert take the start on this one since this is his home course, as he says. He lives about 5 miles down the road from the mountain. Have you completed all of our Sinisters that we've had? Do you know? Or have you
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what do you think of it? The course, the race itself?
I enjoy the course. I know a lot of people don't just because you have the what is called O-Snap, which is the long climb
Right.
at the very end. But once you get up that climb, you're on a downhill sprint
Exactly.
towards the finish. So I like it. It's got your first lap, you take off on a little leaf. So it's got a lot of rocks, a little bit of a climb.
Yep.
Then you get in a little bit of downhill. Then you're back up to a little uphill again with some more downhill. And then, like I said, that last stretch for me I love because you can just get in that lowest gear and just hammer all the way to the finish line. So I really enjoy the course.
Excellent. Very cool. You've run it as well, raced it as well?
Yeah, I think I did it the first year that we, what was it, 2020?
2019.
2019.
was the first year. Yep. 2020 we got
that
canceled.
long already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that course. I think it has a little bit of everything because, like you said, you have that long descent at the end, and when you're about to hit the finish line, it's really cool. You can just fly down, and then it has that little bit of technical on the backside as well that I really enjoy. And then some hills. So yeah, for me, it's the perfect course.
Yeah. It's a good mixture of everything. So you were saying so 19 was the first running. Of course, 20 we got canceled. I think all of the rides until November, I think, were canceled in 20. So we've actually only held this race twice before at this point. This will be the third running of it, and I think it's shaping up to be a pretty good field out there. Again, just seeing the registrations that we've had come in, it's going to be a pretty good competitive field at the top there. So it'll definitely be pretty cool. Up next, we have Adrenaline, which is held out at McDowell. It's on one of your favorite trails, Escondido. Starts out on Escondido,
Yes.
wraps around to Pemberton, and follows up on Chalmo, if I pronounce it correctly. I always mess it up,
Yep.
but Chalmo Wash. Again, I'll just start off on it. What do you think of this race and this trail?
So on any given day, I dislike Escondido so much. At night, I don't mind it because once again you're focused on that close range, that 5 to 6 foot range, so you don't see the top.
Right.
You don't see what's coming up, and before you know it, you're on top. You got another little gradual climb up to Pemberton, and from Pemberton you fly all the way back to the finish line. So,
Right.
so yeah. So at night, it's the perfect track at night.
So you don't see
Exactly.
it. Perfect. It works. Marion.
I don't think I've raced that course as part of Aravaipa, but I actually do like Escondido Trail. It's I think it's pretty underrated, and it's kind of off the beaten track too. So I look forward to that race as well.
I definitely like the finish on Chalmo. I love that. Like you were saying, I mean, basically from Pemberton on, it's just a great little, I don't know, 1 or 2 miles about left of nice twists and turns downhill. I mean, you can really get some good speed and just hammer it home. I totally forgot what I was going to say. I was thinking of it just
You
a
ate
second
Escondido
ago.
as well.
I actually don't mind Escondido.
No, I don't. In the daytime, I don't like it, but at night, I don't mind it.
Well, it's got a lot of exposure. Like if you're at night, obviously, like you said, you have tunnel vision. You don't see exactly where you're going, so you can have some nice surprises, I think.
Well, and I think for me, like in the daytime, I know where I'm at on Escondido, so I know how much longer I have on Escondido. At nighttime, you just kind of lose track of where you're at,
Right.
and before you know it, you're like, oh, I'm getting ready to head to Pemberton. So yeah.
What I was going to say, so adrenaline doesn't have the uphill. There's really not too much of a punchy climb like we have in Santan. So it's not quite the whole package the way Santan's has. A little bit of everything. There is a long climb on Escondido, but there's nothing really that like challenges you in that, okay, I've got to get up this and it's right there. I can see the top.
Right.
But I think the rest of it, as you were saying, is relatively straightforward, not very technical. Pretty easy one, I think, for even a beginner to get out there and try for sure. All right, and last of the top three, first half, is Hypnosis. Hypnosis is at Estrella. I knew we'd have a lot of conversations about this one based on that. Explain your face.
Well, being from, I guess, the east side of town, I will not drive to just go ride Estrella.
Okay.
The only time I ever go there is to race. And I guess for me, like with most of these races, I'll race my hardtail. I'm faster on it, more comfortable on it. And after a few laps at Australia, you just beat up, just from the rocks and everything else. So I've done well out there, so I can't talk too ill of it. I've won several races out there, but it's definitely not my favorite track to race.
Your favorite, okay.
And it's not even the hills or the downhill. It's just the rocks. I think it's just getting bounced around so much.
Yeah, it's definitely a different experience for sure.
Yeah.
Marion, I think that's where we met the first time last summer
I think so.
at that race. So tell us about what you think of the race, what you think of the track.
Well, Istria is actually my kind of jam. I really like the techie, and I'm usually pretty good at the tech stuff as opposed to the kitty litter or the things that are more, where you have to mash. I really enjoy that course, even if, yes, you're beat up, but if it's for a good reason. Right? I don't know. I just like the technical aspect of it, and like Robert said, I don't think I would drive to train at Istria because I'm fairly far from it.
Sure.
But I really enjoy every time I go out and race out there. It's usually a blast.
See, I knew it was a good reason I brought the two of you in together for this one.
Well, 'cause I know what kind of bike she rides. It's not anything close to what I have.
I don't have a hardtail.
There we go.
Yep. So this year in Hypnosis, we might have the opportunity to race inside the park and not at the comp track. Just it's park rules at this point that we've always been regulated to the comp track. It's for bikes and it's for racing and stuff like that. However, because of our partnership with the regional parks, and we do have the Hypnosis foot race on Saturday night on a course inside, we're trying to levy that to make it in some cases easier for us. We don't have to do two different setups on 2 days back to back. But we can also and utilize those trails. So there's the potential of using, and I don't know how familiar you are with the east side of the park, where the horse trailer parking is. The trail's out there. If we had a race, if the course was moved to there, would you change your tune?
Yeah, I think I've done a state championship race out there. It wasn't the daytime.
Okay.
So to do that at night, it would be interesting,
Sure.
right? Because like I was saying before, like all these courses that we race now, whether it's clockwise, counterclockwise, we've raced them before.
Sure.
So you have an idea of where things are at. But to do a course like that where you haven't raced it at night would make it very interesting.
Excellent. Okay.
I may change my mind.
We'll talk to you on the 21st
There you
of
go.
June. Yeah.
There you go.
How was it?
Yeah, I don't think I would know what I'm getting myself into because I haven't ridden those trails.
Okay.
But I would be more than happy to, start with a night race. Yeah.
See how it goes. Fair enough. Well, it's not set in stone, so right now it's still considered the comp track is the location. We'll know in the next few weeks, hopefully one way or the other, and then the maps will go up, so you'll have a chance to go out and pre-ride it and check it out, and then you can get back to me with some
There you go.
feedback.
We'll give you the feedback.
Yeah. So you guys started to talk about it. Why don't we jump over to different bike setups? I don't know who wants to lead it off. You guys obviously ride different bikes currently as just per your likings. Why don't you explain the kind of the basic rides that you each have, and then like we can go into like different setups for these different events. How you might change up your settings.
Yeah, absolutely. So even if I would love to have a hardtail, have a lighter, faster bike, but right now I only have it's an Orbea always, so it's a trail version. It's a 120. So it's fairly light, not as light as a hardtail.
Sure.
And I ride and race everything around here with it. I think it would be more, it would be an ideal setup for the technical races, such as Santan, for example, or even Estrella. McDowell, that kind of races, I think a hardtail 100 suspension would be preferable, but I'll be on my the same bike, sorry, racing those all around.
Gotcha. All right, Robert, tell us about yours.
Yeah, and with me, so I have a couple different bikes, and I don't really have a preference on either one. So I have a specialized Epic hardtail. I don't know, it's in the 19-20 pound range, so it's pretty light.
Yep.
Fast bike, obviously. And then I also have a specialized S-Works that has the brain suspension on it, so it's basically a hardtail.
Okay.
Until you start going over rocks and stuff, and then the suspension starts to work.
Okay.
So for like race starts and everything, it's a hardtail.
Gotcha.
When you stand up and start pumping, the bike doesn't move much.
Okay.
Once it feels rocks, then the suspension kicks in. So, but same thing, it's only like 90 millimeters travel, so not even anything close to Marion. So it's still it's a full suspension bike, but it's not a lot of suspension at all.
Okay.
But most of the races around here that I've done, whether it's with Aravaipa, NBA, any of the state championships, I'll ride my hardtail over the S-Works.
Gotcha. And you have a single speed as well, right?
I do have a single speed as well.
Take
I've
that
been
out
tinkering
once
with
in a
that
while.
Yeah. The funny thing with me in the single speed is I will race a single speed at a race. I'll take the single speed back home, and I will not ride it until like the next race.
Okay.
So I don't put a lot of time and effort into riding the single speed. It's just not as enjoyable.
Right.
Because like we're talking like with Pemberton and stuff like that, when you just get down or at Santan,
Yeah.
just getting that lowest gear and just hammering it. Well, the single speed, you can't do that.
Right.
I mean, your little legs are going, but you're not going very fast. So
Yeah, it's to be a little frustrating.
Yeah. So and my thing, I've done this for forever, is I've always had a couple bikes. And you've probably seen it as well, Aaron. I'll bring 2 bikes to every race.
Yes.
Whether it's I haven't made my mind up yet, or someone needs a bike, which I've always been willing to. It doesn't matter what bike or how much it costs. Like, you can ride it if you need it.
Sure.
So yeah, I think sometimes even up to the time you're putting your plate on, I'm still deciding on which bike I want to ride. So.
Right.
Yeah, it's depends on your strategy. It's fairly interesting. For me, I don't think I have the choice, so I'm like, same bike.
Yeah, but that bike's done well for you, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I think it's around like 24, if I'm not mistaken. But I do have the lockout, so I can lock out my suspension completely or halfway, or leave it fully open. And I love that setting. I play with it all the time, and I think that helps also, save on time and effort.
Excellent. think that probably some of the gifting a bike, letting other people ride it, probably comes to some of your coaching aspects too. I mean, you're there to help. You're not always there as just yourself. You are there with the team, and not just the team, but you're also a coach to many of the kids on the team, right? So there's probably something in the back there that's saying, a kid might have forgotten their bike at home or anything like that, as kids can do. So it's always nice to have that extra availability, and I'm sure that's probably something that's sticking in your mind.
And it's kind of weird with that too, because like even with my own, when I ride my own bikes, I'm always afraid of crashing and scratching them or this or that. But when it comes to racing, it's like, you want to help. I've given my seat to somebody. I've given my back wheel to somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're there to help everybody out, whether it's your team, someone else's team.
Sure.
If Marion showed up and her bike's broke, here, take one of mine.
Yeah.
If you crash it, you crash it. It's a race.
Yeah.
So I've always been that way, and especially with as many kids as we have out there racing. Yeah, I haven't had to give a bike up yet, but it's always there.
It's always there.
I'll
Good
take
to
note
know.
of that.
Exactly.
S works.
Yeah, making a call for the specific, right? All right, so I want to get back into the Insomniac a little bit too. So obviously we talked a little bit about differences between day and night racing, day and night just being on the trails and whatnot. So we do a charity beer garden at almost all of our races. Don't know if you've started, had partaken in a beer before leaving, but what's your thought on beer after a night race or beer still in the middle of the day after your day race? Day drinkers?
I think it's better after a night race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good end of the race.
More enjoyable.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we can't have it open the whole time because liquor laws and stuff like that. So usually it closes right at midnight. So anyone doing like a 6 or 9 hours probably is not enjoying it. But I figure the one lappers and the 3 hours, it's same time that you might be out. It's about the only thing that is geared only towards adults in our races, right? We're pretty family oriented. Not only are the kids racing, as young as they want to enter, we don't have a minimum age limit, but it's a big family oriented space that people come out and actually cheer on whether it's their sons and daughters or moms and dads or a little bit of a mixture. Robert, you said that you've neither of your kids specifically ride, or they don't race with you.
No, don't race. No, just
not
me.
into mountain biking at all.
No, my son, he's 19 now, so when he was probably 14, 15, took him to the White Tanks for one of the fall series races. Jumped in his age group, took third, and retired.
Okay.
He was just like, I didn't enjoy pushing myself, didn't enjoy the competition, so he's got that one medal, and that was it.
Does he
ride? But that's where I got into that thing too, like I was telling you earlier about some of the other folks I ride with. It's like you don't have to race, right? You can just go out and ride, have a good time. You don't have to be competitive in a race to have a bike and have a good time. So
are you saying, does he ride then, and for fun, or is he? Like,
no, as soon as he got his license, no, he hasn't ridden his bike in years. So no, not at all anymore. And like my wife and daughter, we'll do neighborhood rides and stuff like that, and the beach cruiser stuff like that. But yeah, nothing. No trail rides
at all.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So we do offer camping in front of the. That's not the right way to say it. So we do offer camping the night before the races if you wanted to come in, and of course the night after if you want to stay afterwards. Have you guys camped with us before?
I think maybe I did at McDowell one race just because we did a 6-hour duo, and it just didn't feel like driving home.
Of course.
It was a long night.
Yep. And I think that's certainly probably one of the most picked up piece of it is that it's that night. It's like tired, just raced X amount of hours, whichever one it could be. It's really easy just to be able to stay there until sun up and then and roll out versus being kind of forced out, right? Marion, have you stayed with us before?
I haven't, but I actually plan on doing so this year, especially for the further ones. I think Santon for me is about an hour, so it's easy to just camp in the back of the truck and just enjoy, especially if we have a few beers after the race. We can just sit down and enjoy, have a fire maybe.
Safety first.
Yeah.
Yeah, through most of the summer, I know most places do have fire bans, unfortunately, as the heat gets up here and it's so dry. But the propane fires are usually allowed, and the regional parks are a little bit different than your national forests too. So there's different rules there. Sometimes it seems like it's counterproductive when it's still 98 degrees out there to have a campfire, but I think the ambiance part of it is certainly a nice piece. I know, obviously, this isn't our Insomniac series, but some of our colder weather races will have the bonfires going. If the race goes into the night, we'll actually have them going. I shouldn't say bonfire, but we'll have a fire going kind of in the downtown village area of it. But it certainly is nice to be able to come out and enjoy. And again, it goes to the aspect of the family-oriented and kind of fun. It's a race. We're competitive. There are people out there who are obviously, doing their best, whether they're first place or 10th place or 100th place. But we're also, I think, a pretty fun type of race environment too, where, even if you're not that competitive for the podium, you're still going to come out there and have a good time, and you're going to race your race and have your thing there. And of course, camping just adds to it all.
For sure. Can we talk about your race food? Because I think that is another underrated piece.
Absolutely.
Aravaipa races.
I know you're talking about the grilled cheeses, aren't you?
Yes.
Everybody's had
and the quesadilla.
Definitely bring up.
So we offer a full aid station in the at start-finish sign, and there's aid stations throughout most of the courses, depending on the length and the gravity of the course itself. But the full aid station's always at the front. Marion, I know you were mentioning it to us earlier. What do you think of the food? What is your favorite? Is it a must-do, or can you pass by it?
Is it definitely a must-do? I would not stop at the aid station mid-race, but I would definitely eat some, quesadillas at the end of the race. I think the food you provide is by far the best, aid stations of all the races I've done. You can get grilled cheeses, quesadillas, bean burritos. You have so many options, and I think it's great, and it's great to have, mid-race also, or at the end.
Excellent. Robert, tell us about your favorite aid station snack.
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese?
You got to have a grilled cheese. It doesn't matter if you're hungry, you're not hungry, or grilled cheese. But no, I think just with the full spread, and then the music you got going on in the background, just the whole environment and atmosphere is it's top notch for sure.
Excellent. I've heard that from a few, and I'm obviously new to the race director position, so that's a stuff that I'm still learning, I guess. We do have aid stations throughout, depending again on the course, sometimes 1, 2, 3, depending on what the needs are of the course. I am seeing that most people do tend to blow right by it. Is there any need do you think, to have an extra tent out there with some snacks, some water, whatnot, or is it something that you would see as just kind of just unnecessary as part of like a race setup?
Well, I think if you are going to be really competitive and really going for time, you would definitely blow past it, or just grab a gel if you're out, or let's say your own gels fell off your pocket, for example. But I think for most people, they would just stop and enjoy a snack. So I think it needs to be there, even if you're competitive, just in case you need something.
I hear you. Robert, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's not for everyone,
Okay.
but definitely, I think if it wasn't there, then I think it would be bad for some of those riders that maybe the other water bottle fell out, or their snacks or whatever, and they just need something to.
Sure.
They're in survival mode, right? Trying to get back to the start finish, and so I think even though a handful of people do fly by it, I think it's still a good idea to have it out there, for sure.
Would it be something that you think would need to be manned by one of the volunteers? Something that could be self-serve?
Yeah, I think self-serve would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings me into the volunteers. We have an excellent group of people who come to us and volunteer at all of our races. Some of them you'll see at all the races volunteering. Some of them just come out 1 or 2. Robert has actually done some of them as well, because this particular series, the Insomniac, is tied to the running side, and we have foot races, ultra marathons, and trail races the night after the mountain bike. We have people who come out, they'll stay, race one night and volunteer another. Robert, tell us about your experiences doing that.
Yeah, so I think I've done it a couple different times at Santan, and once again, just a few minutes down the road. But yeah, it's once again just being in that environment and seeing, when we race the night before with our bikes, everybody there is for the same there for the same reason.
Right.
They're just the love of racing, the love of bikes, just the atmosphere, and then you come back the following night and you see all these runners, which I am not, and you see the same thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's there for the same reason, and the love and the compassion for that sport, and it's just fun to support those folks. Is the aid stations like we're talking about? I normally work on the aid stations,
Sure.
and almost everybody stops,
Yes.
and you just carry on conversations. And if they're doing multiple laps, you get to know them and joke around this, that, and other thing. So, yeah, I enjoy it, and I think just being in the environment is fun.
Excellent. Marion, have you ever been on the volunteer side with us?
Not with Aravaipa, but I was contemplating it because my partner is also she's in mountain biking, but mostly running.
Okay.
So I think you'd be in for a cool weekend if you come out and volunteer, take turns for
Sure.
either mountain biking race or the running race. I think it's a really fun environment to be in, and you get to camp. So I think it's a good weekend.
Well, we really can't put these races on without the volunteers. I mean, you think about everything that happens from setup to breakdown is actually mostly manned or staffed by volunteers. We have people who come out for different sections. They'll come out for a couple hours during the race. People will be the first half of the race or the second half. They'll be on breakdown. They'll be on setup. They'll be doing as heavy lifting as anybody who's here on staff. They could be working in the aid station. They could be taking your photos as you come across the finish line. They're really the ones so they are definitely what makes these operations run. They're super important to have the volunteers out as well, and you get to earn race credits for your next one, which is always kind of cool. And if you have other people in the family, you could always transfer your credits to that person, that type of thing. But it's a nice way to be able to give back, right, and get some credits for your next race. That's all I have to say about that.
All right.
Yeah, no, my wife enjoys those race credits.
Yeah, I didn't know you had
Yeah.
race credits. That's cool.
Yeah, I found that I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago I found out about that. We did the what's the big the Javelina?
Yeah, Javelina 100.
100 at
In October.
McDowell. We were there for like 12 hours. Didn't meet anyone local. They were all from New York, Chicago, all over the place. But yeah, so that was the first big one I volunteered for. Yeah, it was a long night, but it was fun though.
Very cool.
Never poured so much Gatorade in my life.
Yeah, there's a difference between like the running, trail running, and the bikes, because you're obviously going even the fast guys are going much slower, right?
Right.
So even the fast guys, and I think in the competitive running side of it, a lot of them blow by them. Or they might blow by the first one, but they stop at the second. They blow by the third. They stop at the fourth, kind of thing. They still have to fuel up or get whatever they want. They're usually much less. I mean, they don't have a bike to strap any extra food to or whatnot. So they might have a hydro pack, but again, the top guys are not. They're carrying a bottle of water. They might have a pouch in that bottle, and they don't have the big backpack on or anything like that. So yeah, it's a different thing, because they'll stop, they'll talk, they'll have a banana. They'll have a second banana.
Yeah, and
They'll
then mountain bikes were just
and the mountain bikes are
right
like,
through. Yep, not stopping for anything.
Well, it's also easier to stop, I think, if you're on foot. 'Cause
Well, yeah.
mountain biking, you have to kind of like
right.
calculate
There's
it,
more. Yeah,
you know.
there's definitely more to think of. Yep.
That's cool.
And this concludes the latest episode of the Aravaipa Rides podcast. I'd like to thank my special guests today, Marion Cholieu with Exhale Race Team and Robert Cogburn with Founder Racing. Thanks for their time and coming out today. We will be at Santan Bike on the 2nd of April doing an in-person registration event. So if you haven't come out to register, haven't registered online, you can come see us live at Santan Bike on the 2nd. On the 10th of April, Sunday, we'll be doing a pre-ride of the Sinister course. That's a pre-ride during the day. So come out at 8 o'clock. We'll be meeting at the trailhead doing the full course, one loop, and grabbing some breakfast afterwards. And of course, the race itself, Sinister, is going to be on the 15th of April. That is a Friday night at Santan Regional Park.